When a drumbeat sounds in a distant land, wise nations still listen, because echoes can cross oceans. Breaking news from Washington, D.C. and Abuja, dated February 11, 2026. United States lawmakers have introduced new legislation seeking targeted sanctions against former Kano State Governor Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, as well as the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, MACBAN, and Miyetti Allah Kautal Hore, over allegations linked to religious freedom violations in Nigeria. The proposed bill, titled the Nigeria Religious Freedom and Accountability Act of 2026, HR 7457, reportedly includes visa bans and potential asset freezes. While the bill has been introduced, it has not yet become law, and the individuals and organizations named have not been convicted of any crime in a U.S. court. In this report, we will examine what the bill proposes, the basis of the allegations, reactions and denials, and what this development could mean for Nigeria's international image, religious tensions, and diplomatic relations. If you value fact-based reporting that separates allegations from verified outcomes, like this video and subscribe to Arise News. Public awareness is the first layer of accountability. According to reports, U.S. Congressman Riley Moore and Representative Chris Smith introduced HR 7457 on February 11, 2026. The bill is said to focus on what the sponsors describe as ongoing religious freedom violations in Nigeria, particularly violence affecting Christian communities. Within that framework, the proposed legislation names Rabiu Kwankwaso and Miyetti Allah groups among entities that could face targeted sanctions if the bill progresses, and findings support the allegations. The term targeted sanctions in U.S. legislative language typically refers to measures such as visa restrictions, asset freezes within U.S. jurisdiction, and limitations on financial transactions. These are not criminal convictions, but foreign policy tools often used to signal disapproval and apply pressure over human rights concerns. For now, this is a legislative proposal, and the process will involve committee reviews, debate, and possible amendments before any enforcement action can occur. Representative Riley Moore has previously alleged that Kwankwaso was complicit in what he described as violence against Christians during his tenure as governor of Kano State, pointing specifically to the implementation of Sharia law policies. It is important to note that Sharia law operates within Nigeria's constitutional framework in several northern states for personal and civil matters among consenting Muslims. Allegations connecting governance decisions to acts of violence are serious claims that would require substantial legal and evidentiary scrutiny. The bill and related statements reportedly describe certain Miyetti Allah factions and what are termed Fulani ethnic nomad militias as entities involved in violence against Christian communities. Over the past decade, Nigeria has witnessed deadly clashes involving herders and farming communities, particularly in the Middle Belt and parts of the Northwest and North Central regions. These conflicts are often described by analysts as complex, involving land disputes, climate pressures, criminality, ethnic tensions, and sometimes religious identity. However, the formal classification of any organization as a terrorist or sanctioned entity by a foreign legislature carries significant diplomatic weight. So far, there has been no official pronouncement from the Nigerian federal government endorsing these U.S. allegations, nor has there been confirmation that Kwankwaso or the Miyetti Allah organizations have been formally designated under existing U.S. sanctions frameworks. As of this report, this remains a legislative initiative. This development also intersects with another controversy mentioned in recent reports involving former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami. A retired military officer reportedly accused Malami of colluding in the release of 48 terrorism suspects. Malami has publicly rejected those allegations, describing them as politically motivated and denying any involvement in terrorism financing or facilitation. As with the U.S. bill, these claims remain allegations and have not resulted in a judicial finding of guilt. To understand the institutional mechanics here, it is helpful to clarify how such actions unfold.
In the United States, members of Congress can introduce legislation proposing sanctions tied to human rights concerns under frameworks such as religious freedom monitoring or global accountability standards. However, passage requires approval by both chambers of Congress and ultimately presidential assent. Additionally, executive agencies typically conduct independent assessments before imposing sanctions. This means that introduction of a bill is not the same as immediate enforcement. Why does this matter for Nigeria? First, it matters for Nigeria's global standing. Religious freedom has long been a sensitive subject in international diplomacy. Nigeria has previously appeared on watch lists under U.S. religious freedom assessments. Any new legislation singling out Nigerian political figures or organizations risks intensifying scrutiny and could affect bilateral relations. Second, it matters domestically. Nigeria is a multi-religious society where tensions, if not carefully managed, can escalate quickly. International narratives that frame violence primarily through a religious lens can influence local perceptions, sometimes reinforcing divisions rather than resolving them. While accountability for violence is essential, oversimplification of complex security challenges can be equally dangerous. Third, it matters for political actors. Rabiu Kwankwaso remains a prominent national political figure. Even allegations raised in foreign legislatures can shape public perception at home, especially ahead of future electoral cycles. However, democratic norms require that accusations be tested against evidence, not amplified without due process. It is also important to separate policy criticism from criminal liability. Debates over Sharia implementation, security strategies, and responses to communal violence are political questions within Nigeria's constitutional system. Allegations of complicity in violence are legal matters requiring proof. Conflating the two without judicial findings risks blurring important distinctions.
What would an effective Nigerian authorities' response look like? Transparency, clear data on prosecutions related to communal violence, public communication outlining efforts to protect all religious communities equally, diplomatic engagement with U.S. counterparts to clarify facts and provide evidence-based responses. Silence or purely defensive rhetoric would likely deepen suspicion rather than resolve it. On the other hand, failure to address underlying security concerns, particularly persistent killings in vulnerable communities, creates space for external actors to frame the narrative. When domestic institutions appear unable or unwilling to deliver justice, international pressure often folds. For communities affected by violence, the geopolitical debate may feel distant. What matters most to victims is safety, justice, and prevention of further attacks. Whether violence is labeled ethnic, religious, or criminal, the human cost remains the same: displacement, trauma, and loss. This leads to one focused question Nigerians should reflect on carefully. When foreign governments raise concerns about human rights violations in Nigeria, should the response be outright rejection or deeper domestic reform that addresses the root causes of insecurity? As this legislative process unfolds in Washington, it is crucial to remember that allegations are not verdicts. Diplomatic pressure is not judicial conviction, but neither should serious claims be dismissed without transparent examination. We close with this reminder: a nation that does not tell its own story clearly may one day hear it told by others. Nigeria's strength lies in confronting its challenges openly, protecting every citizen equally, and ensuring that justice is visible, not assumed. Subscribe to Arise News for balanced, verified, and accountable reporting as this international development continues to evolve.